oh, apparently smoking and feeling depressed is associated with better recovery. So, hey man, you got the time there? I'm like, no dude, it's not a watch, just stop. My name's Shay, I'm a nutritionist and an international level athlete, and today I'm covering, should you pay for this little wrist, I was gonna say wristwatch, it's not a watch, there's no time on it, okay. Yeah, basically, I'm not gonna cover all the nitpicky little functions here, the things have been covered at large, but I'm gonna put forward my unique perspective as someone who has a background in nutrition and actually adheres to like a strict training regimen and competes, because these things kind of propose different scenarios and usages for this, so yeah, let's go. So what even is this? So basically it's a tool that's going to help you measure your training and your recovery to help dial in things, see how your body's responding to things, and just, you know, overall optimize it. So I'll gloss over the main things quickly, like recovery. It's going to tell you at the start of every day how much you recovered, and this is based on your resting heart rate, your heart rate variation when you're sleeping. So you can expect if you've had a massive training day or you've been out drinking and not slept that well, this is going to be pretty low. You'll be in the red. It caps out at like 99%, which I've actually hit. I was pretty proud of that. And this is kind of one of the main functions. It'll give you kind of a basing of where you're actually sitting at and whether or not you should push or hold back as far as your training goes, but you don't want to dig in too much into placebo, right? Like some days it's going to be pretty low, like 40%, but I'm feeling great and smash the training session. But like if you just give in to the placebo, it's like, oh, I'm only at 40, I'm going to be so tired, then you're probably going to have a bad session. Just because of the placebo, so be wary of that. And the recovery will stack up with your strain, which is the other big part about this whole thing, which is basically your training load. They call it strain. And this will be based on your activity throughout the day, and you can manually or it'll automatically log some of your activities, your exercise, your training sessions, and then you can look back at the heart rate and all the trends and compare it to other days, because you can always go back in history. So you've got this big log of data now between your like training and your recovery. However, one of the issues I have with strain is it's very biased towards like cardiovascular work. It's very, very easy to rack up high strain scores based on like if you're just running, even if the session wasn't that hard. If you go for like an easy long run, you're gonna rack up big strain. Whereas like for me, an easy track session is going to rack up probably more strain than like a tough 2-hour weight session, which just takes way more out of me. So there's that to consider. So onto journal, and this is probably my favorite feature of it. So basically at the start of every day, it'll prompt you with a journal that you've set up, a bunch of check boxes. You basically tell the app what happened yesterday, what you did. It's like, oh, did I have an ice bath? Did I have a cold shower? Did I eat like crap? A big list, and you can pick what things you actually put in the journal because there's a massive list. And it's good as customizable, so you don't have to check every day that you didn't go in a hyperbaric chamber. It's like, no, I didn't buy one yesterday, it's still the same. And the benefit here is that it'll compare the data that you put in the journal with your recovery scores, and over time it'll gradually tell you whether or not these things are harming or helping you. One of the big things you'll realize very quickly is alcohol is just terrible for your recovery. It'll just crash your HRV, which is the main determinant to your recovery. So if you're trying to quit alcohol, it could be a pretty good investment. I mean, it's about $1 a day, so you're probably spending more of that on booze if you're a big drinker. So there's that. But basically, this will help you trial and error your way into better recovery scores and just feeling better at all times, which is just ideal. Everyone responds to things differently. Some things might hurt or harm you, but it might be the opposite with other people. And of course, you got to be a little bit realistic. Like, it might give you a false reading. I saw this one on Reddit where this guy's like, oh, apparently smoking and feeling depressed is associated with better recovery. So at some point you got to be a little bit reasonable and just, you know, second guess a couple things, but for the most part, I'd say it's pretty accurate. Now, an issue I have with maxing out your sleep, which is kind of what I did the first couple months of getting this, to max out the sleep, I was training earlier in the morning so that I would have more time to recover before I actually get to sleep, so the sleep is higher quality, and I was also not having any caffeine after like midday. And this was like, my sleep scores are immaculate, and I'd wake up in the morning feeling pretty good, but the training wasn't actually good. So as far as progress goes throughout my sport, it was suboptimal despite the sleep being perfect, because my best sessions are going to be when I'm caffeinated in the afternoon, you know, track's nice and busy, feeling great. but I wasn't really getting this because I was trying to max out the sleep. And for me, it's distancing my last meal from bed and eating, a cleaner diet was associated with better recovery. But the issue there is, I don't know how much of that is just due to the fact that if I'm eating more processed foods, that's usually on a day I have big training because I have to eat more and it's just easier with a little bit of processed food in there. And then if the recovery is lower, is that because I ate poorly the day before, or is it because I just had a massive training session, right? I still got on all my micronutrients. It wasn't like a hyper-inflammatory diet, so it's hard to say, is that actually the processed food? So you got to keep that in mind as well. So how does this play into the fact that I'm a nutritionist and coming out of a competitive sports background? So for one, with the nutrition, it's a little bit weak. I can craft a perfect diet as far as scientific literature and, micronutrients and all sorts of things, but that doesn't change the fact that some people are going to respond differently to different types of things, right? Like, they have a few things in the journal you can put in as far as nutrition goes, but I doubt, whether or not you had enough calcium in one given day is going to affect your recovery. It's a bit of a reach. It's telling you how much fat, carbs, and protein do you need, but these things don't, I don't think that's going to affect recovery much unless you had, no protein maybe, but it's a little bit lacking as far as nutrition goes. It'd be really cool if it was linked to a diet database like Chronometer, and then you could really see what's going on. And as far as me being a competitive athlete, the thing is, my training is kind of set by each day. Maybe the track sessions vary a little bit based on the way I'm feeling, but whether or not I'm feeling a little bit sluggish or perfect in the morning, I'm still gonna do the program, right? If my recovery is really good, but I'm just meant to have an easy recovery session, I really don't believe that I should look at the recovery and think, okay, it's green, I should therefore overextend, because let's say I've had a really tough couple days beforehand, and I'm all of a sudden just doing crazy long sprints flat out. It's just not a good idea. So I've heard some people, they tailor their training based on their recovery. If you're just a recreational, maybe athlete, then absolutely, I think that's not a bad idea. But if you're a competitive athlete and you need to follow the training program pretty closely, I don't think you should listen to it too much. Because as I said before, even if the recovery is low, it doesn't mean I can't have a really good session. So you gotta, keep that in mind. A lot of the time, once I get going, all the sessions kind of feel the same regardless of what the recovery score tells me. Maybe if the recovery is a bit lower, it might take me a little bit longer to get going at the start of the session, but once I'm going, it's kind of all the same. So another few nice features, the alarm is really nice when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, so I set another alarm as well, just 5 minutes after, but it kind of just buzzes. It's not loud, it just wakes you up so nicely. As far as materials go, it's pretty high quality. It doesn't look like it's aged much, and I've been wearing it every day for 8 months, so that's pretty good. And it fits pretty well. I don't really notice it's there. It doesn't get caught on anything. But some of the shortcomings, of course, I said the alarm sometimes doesn't work. I don't know if that's on my end. I've seen some people having a similar issue. And as I said before, it's kind of skewed as far as cardio and weights training goes. You'll rack up crazy strain on a cardio session, even if it wasn't necessarily that hard on your body, which means if you had a big weight session, the strain might be quite low, but then the next day your recovery is in the bin. So if you're like me and you're alternating between running and weight stuff, I think that might skew with the whole journal thing, because of course it's going to factor in the strain, but if the strain is a bit skewed by the type of activity, it might cause it to blame things that shouldn't be blamed with the journal. And lastly, the calories was really low. I eat about 3,500 calories in a day, and it's usually saying I'm only needing 2,700, so that's a bit weird. And the heart rate is a little bit off. It's consistent, but it seems a little bit fast. When I time it just with a stopwatch and checking it myself, it's always slower than the actual app saying, so I don't know what's going on there. So where do I sit with this? I think if you are really curious about learning more about your body and trying to optimize things, I'd say it's worth doing for a bit. There is a month free trial, but I don't know if that's enough to get the proper insights as far as what your body's gonna do in response to things. A year is really long. It'd be nice if there was a 3-month thing, but of course they send you the strap for free, so they want you to pay for the whole year. So if investing the money into your body is a little bit of a questionable area for you, you're gonna weigh things up, right? You could, compare the price of this to the price you could be paying a bit more for, high quality food, or maybe a coach or a new pair of shoes. And if you're worried about your sleep, maybe you just need a better mattress. There's a lot of things to think about, but I think this is worth it, at least for the shorter term. I don't really think you need to be wearing this every day for like years and years. I don't know how effective that would be. Once you've kind of figured out what works for you, I've found myself like looking at inside the app a lot less, because I'm just like, oh, okay, I know what I did wrong if I've done something wrong, you know, so there's that. Yeah, so that's about it. I wanted to cover more of the points that I don't hear people talking about, and conversely spend less time on the points that everyone's covering, because then my review is just the same as everything else. So I wanted to just provide my unique perspective. If you are trying to optimize your lifestyle, I recommend checking out this video. It'll tell you how to actually fuel your training sessions properly with the power of carbs. But yeah, that's been me. I'll see you next time.